Welcome to the FY23 CFA ESEA training. We will start with our strategic plan Best for All and our three buckets: academics, student readiness, and educators. And when I think of the federal funds pertaining to ESSA in the CFA, all of these three items are relevant. Our agenda for today: we will outline some changes in the FY23 CFA, identify some common mistakes when completing the CFA, discussing some tips, expectations, and best practices within all sections of the CFA, along with guides and resources. Some important things to remember when completing the CFA: ensure that information in different portions of the CFA is consistent, such as your parent involvement, making sure what you have on the district set-aside page aligns with your PPA page in the budget narrative, and with your personnel FTEs, ensuring what you have in the budget aligns to the personnel chart. It is important to remember when completing the CFA that many sections of the CFA connect to one another, such as the examples I mentioned on the last slide. And do note with your budget code and line items that while some expenditures can be best budgeted in a particular item, there are some that must be budgeted in a particular line item, such as a class size reduction teacher for direct instruction would be placed in 71100-116. Budget tags and budgeted narrative requirements. There will be 3 new budget tags for FY23, your con admin, direct admin, and indirect cost. Do note, while the con admin is there as a budget tag option, you will not actually utilize it for those of you that use consolidated administration. However, for those of you that utilize administration through each title or a few different titles, you will use the direct admin budget tag. And for those LEAs that utilize indirect cost, you will tag that line item. These are the required budget tags for this year. Do note that they are mandatory and you will have 1 tag per line item. Totals from the budget tag will auto-populate on other pages of the CFA. For example, with Title 5 and Title 4, those will auto-populate to the program details page. And for all of your other ESSA programs, those of you that are using direct admin, which you will have to tag that, and those of you using con admin and indirect cost, those will also auto-populate. You will have the optional budget tags that align with the Best for All strategic plan, which are academics, student readiness, and educators. With budget tag review, it will help identify the purpose of a budget item without having to go into as much description on the budget narrative. It also narrows the focus for why your money is being spent, and it will save time and effort for those that are required this year, where you can use the filter feature to ensure, for example, what you have on your homeless set-aside page and your homeless district set-aside page aligns to what is in the budget. And for more detailed information on budget tags, please utilize the FY23 CFA Technical Guide. With general budget expectations, with regards to federal funds, always make sure that they are reasonable, necessary, and allocable. You will need to explain and justify the rationale for any purchases or personnel. When thinking about what needs to be added to budget narrative, there is a list of questions below that can help when filling in the budget line item narrative requirements. Do note for personnel, do include the position titles and FTEs. Do not include staff names. And even give detail such as, is this person completing after school activities, summer school activities? This is an example when it comes to supplies and materials of an incorrect and correct way to write a budget narrative. Also, an incorrect and correct example for professional development budget narratives. With the cover page, you will still include testing dates and information, so ensure the assessment URL includes the following information. And this is not changed from years previously. At the moment, the testing dates have not been released, but when they are, we in FPO will release them to the federal program directors. Do note that this page is reviewed by the IDA regional team. Instead of the DUNS number on the FY23 CFA cover page, you will use the Unique Entity Identifier, the UEI, and that is something new that will be required and will replace the DUNS number. With your allocation section, we have a few updates and reminders. For those utilizing ConAdmin, remember there are limits to each one, such as 20% for Title I, Title II, and Title V. And with Title IV and Title III, there is a 2% limit on what can be contributed to ConAdmin. Do note there is a $100 minimum from each program administered. And notice something new this year, that it must also include in these percentages the indirect cost if an LEA takes it as part of each limit. And your limits are calculated on your current fiscal year allocation. This is an example of the allocation section, and you will see column 10 all the way over to the right. That is where you will add money if you want to utilize ConAdmin. Also on the allocation section, this is where you can transfer money. For example, Title II can go to Title I Part A, and you will see the list of where you can transfer money. Do note, once you transfer funds, they take the identity of the award program. This is an example of where in the allocation section you can transfer money. With the contacts page, make sure that you choose a correct position within the LEA. And if at the moment that person does not appear, please contact ePlan Help for that. Do note you will indicate the years of experience that the role has within Tennessee, not just the LEA. ESSA requirement reminders. Do note when it comes to your administrative cost limitations, those are also to include indirect cost, and this is under 34 CFR. And also for LEAs, your uniform grant guidance document, this information is in there as well. Once again, a reminder of the administrative limits that include both your administration and indirect costs combined. There will be a new ESSA administrative report page, which replaces the previous one. With this one, even if you are not utilizing Con Admin, it requires no input from the LEAs. And this is to ensure that an LEA is meeting the admin percentage requirements that also includes indirect costs. This gives an example of all the columns and what the meaning of that is. This is how the ESEA administrative page will look. And you will go all the way over once you've pulled all either Con Admin amounts in or direct admin, and for those that use indirect, that as well. And you will look all the way over on the far right to the total admin percentage to make sure you are within the correct percentage. For those using Con Admin, Admin, and Program Details pages throughout each section, these are some updates and reminders. For those using Con Admin, make sure you put all the duties and responsibilities of those administering the programs that you have that have contributed to Con Admin. Make sure you have their FTE, and if they are not paid 100% from Con Admin, please identify the other funding sources. A reminder of the grant contribution limits and indirect costs. Now to Title I, Part A, updates and reminders. With the program details page, this is the same. Ensure you utilize all the checkboxes of the services and supports that will be provided for students with the Title I funding. And with coordination of funds and services, ensure that you select all the funding sources that are relevant to your LEA. Something new for FY23 when it comes to Title I Part A Parent and Family Engagement. A question will be asked on how the LEA reduces barriers for parent and family members who have limited English proficiency, parents and family members with disabilities, along with parents and family members of migratory children. Under Title I Part A, the poverty and allocations of funds, do note this is a separate page and it's right before the school eligibility. Do note data entered on this page cannot be changed once the CFA has been approved. There is an exception with expanding charter schools. When it comes to low income data, LEAs can identify students with low income through either free and reduced price lunch, direct certification, TANF, Medicaid, or census data. Do note, USAID has extended the same flexibility it did last year on being able to use previous year data that goes back a few years for FY23. When it comes to the method of allocating funds, LEAs have the option of district-wide ranking or grade span ranking. Please note, for those that have less than 1,000 students or you're a single attendance area, the ranking and allocation rules do not apply. When it comes to your identification of schools, you have the 35% rule, which means those schools that are at or above 35% are eligible for Title I. However, do note, if you have a school that drops below 40%, you will either need to grandfather them in for the first year or apply for a school waiver in order for a school to be considered Title I for 2 more years. And LEAs have the option of choosing if they want to identify their schools based on district-wide poverty average or grade span average. When it comes to school eligibility, there is a little flexibility for LEAs that would want to prioritize their high schools that have 50% or more. However, even if you choose not to do this, if a high school does bubble up to 75%, priority is still given to that. And that is for all schools, not just high schools that have 75% or more. They will be first and given priority. Also, you have the school-wide waiver, which you can apply for, and you have until April the 15th. And the waiver approval will be uploaded to your related documents in the Title I section. And of course, you have the option if a school drops below 40% for the first year to either school-wide grandfather them in or target assisted grandfather them in. With supplement not supplant, while you will still upload your SNS and the related document site, you will also have to complete a new page in the CFA. Students experiencing homelessness. Please note, although there are various funding sources for students experiencing homelessness, even if you do not receive the McKinney-Vento subgrant, all LEAs have to meet the requirements of the McKinney-Vento Act. When it comes to the homeless students page, do note, while the homeless set-aside amount will auto-populate from the district set-aside page, the LEA will have to enter the number of homeless students. New to the homeless students page this year is a checkbox for the funding coordination of services. Here are some resources for homeless. Now to students in foster care. You must select a foster care point of contact. Please ensure that this person has the resources and capacity to fulfill this role. Something new for FY23 is the formatting. You will notice that it looks very similar to the homeless page. Even though the school year has not ended, you still enter the total number of bid meetings that have been held prior to the CFA being completed. This is an example of how the foster care page will look. When it comes to the transportation agreements, that does need to be uploaded. A new agreement does not need to be created as long as the prior year's agreement is still valid. Resources to help with foster care. Some updated guidance for foster care students. The U.S. Department of Education released guidance in January. And now all students entering foster care or having a change in placement in foster care must remain in their school of origin unless it is their best interest to enroll in the school of zone. And when it comes to the bid meeting, you may not rule out based on one or two factors. For example, the time in transit and safety may not be single factors used to eliminate or provide an exception to the need for a bid meeting. Please note that the Department of Children's Services is working on looking at their process to determine the need for the procedural change where bid meetings must be conducted for every student entering foster care or making a changement in foster care. The Title I Part A District Set-Aside page. Do note the set-aside page is to support Title I district-wide instructional initiatives. There are 2 required set-asides: students experiencing homelessness, and if an LEA receives $500,000 or more, the parent and family engagement. This is a list of other allowable district set-asides. With your parent and family engagement, do note that 90% of this set-aside must be distributed to Title I schools. And for those that have non-publics, there will be a separate section for the non-public family engagement page. Public schools has a question that must be answered for the district set-aside page, and for those that have non-publics, you will have to answer a question as well for that. With Title I Part A, there are the required budget tags for those that are applicable. Do note, once you are within your budget and you have completed it, there is a filtering tool at the top of the budget page to ensure, for example, the $5,000 you have set aside for homeless on the district set aside page totals what you have throughout your application. When it comes to your related documents, you are required to upload your foster care, the supplement not supplant, a skip schools letter if it's applicable, and if you received a Title I school-wide waiver approval letter, upload it there as well. Title I Part A neglected. A few reminders: make sure the needs assessment has been updated to reflect the current data, and update all MOUs. For further assistance, contact Jackie Jacobson. Your Title I Part C, for those that receive those funds, you will have to complete some information on the program details pages. Do note, when it comes to your Category 1 and 2 students, those are auto-populated for you. However, you will need to enter the number of migratory students that met the criterion of being more than a year behind, failing, or most at risk of failing in the 2021 school year. Also, you will need to complete the INA and family engagement. And of course, with the programming, whatever is in the budget, you will add the applicable information to this part of the page. With resources and support, do note you can ask Terry Garrett or Brent Obermiller. Title I Part D. Do note the new program details for JDCs only. You will need to look at that information and answer it correctly. Of course, the reminders are the needs assessment and MOUs. And for further questions, please ask Jackie Jacobson. Juvenile justice. Making sure you have that point of contact, even if you do not serve high school students within your LEA. Moving on to Title II Part A updates and reminders. There has been added information to the program details page. And if you need to see how each one of them align and look, you can look at the Title II Allowable Use of Funds or the Coordinated Spending Guide. Please note, you do not have to utilize all of these, but this opens up and lets you see a little bit more effectively all the areas that can be utilized with Title II based on the district's needs. And just as a reminder, remember, the LEAs must engage in meaningful confrontation with a broad range of stakeholders. And this process is associated with the Informed Tennessee to meet this requirement. A new question for FY23, you will have to describe how the LEA meets the consultation requirement when it comes to planning on how the LEA will utilize Title II Part A funds. As a reminder, do note that Title II Part A funds are to support your school-based staff. And when it comes to professional development, ensuring it is not a standalone, one-day, or short-term workshop. And it is optional if you want to upload anything in the related documents page. This is a list of resources available for Title II. English learner requirements, updates, and reminders. Several questions that were covered in results-based monitoring have been removed for the FY23 CFA. Also, note this year, there are no related documents uploads required. Do note your ESL self-assessment will now be uploaded in the LEA document library. You still have the 1:35 staff to child ratio. A new question for FY23. If you exceed this 1:35 ratio, you will have to provide a description the LEA will take to ensure that that ratio is reached by September the 15th of 2022. There's also a new question for Title III with regards to parent, family, and community engagement activities that will have to be answered. Due to parent and family engagement being required under ESSA for Title III, you will notice under the program details page for E, you must check that and ensure that that is completed. As a reminder, please note that when it comes to Title III, it is used to supplement not only your state and local funds, but federal funds. And as a reminder, only active ELs and immigrant students may be served under Title III. This is a list of resources for Title III. Now moving on to Title III Part A updates and reminders. As a reminder, do note that these are supplemental to your state, local, and federal funds. When it comes to your program details page, make sure that your narrative when you're answering questions are sufficient to ensure that it is truly showing that these are supplemental. And these are a list of questions that you will answer. Moving on to Title IV, Part A. These funds, under the program details pages, you will check on how you utilize them. And do note, you still have the 3 content areas with well-rounded, safe and healthy and effective use of technology. Do note under the program details page that there are 4 boxes for each section. So make sure you complete all 4. Remember, those of you that receive $30,000 or more, you do have to spend at least 20% on well-rounded and 20% on safe and healthy. And of course, spend a portion, which is at least 1% or more, on the effective use of technology. Of course, within the effective use of technology, with no more than 15% on infrastructure. Please note, under Title IV, infrastructure includes a lot more than a technology department would normally consider. With your Title IV Part A carryover, do note those that receive $30,000 or more must meet the required minimums for each focus area. So that means when funds are carried over, the LEA has to assure that there are processes and having the proper internal controls to track unspent required minimum funds from the prior fiscal year, in addition to the current year's required minimums. With your related documents, if you have anything you feel you need to upload, please do so here with regards to Title IV. Title V Part B Subpart 2 updates and reminders. You will, of course, under the program details pages, use the check boxes to indicate the selected programs. Do note that they would all auto-populate from the budget tags this year. And for each program selected, answer the narrative prompts in full. As a reminder, like Title III, Title V also has a supplement and not supplant in regards to state, local, and federal as well. Class size reduction teachers, nothing has changed this year. It looks the same as it has in the years past. You will still answer the same questions as in previous years. Do note that under ESSA, you have to hire effective teachers in order for them to be class size reduction teachers. Do ensure by October 1st in the LEA's document library, in order to demonstrate that you have effective teachers, you will need to have a letter signed by the Director of Schools on LEA letterhead, ensuring that the CSR teacher meets the state qualifications and licensing criteria, making sure they're teaching in the field that they are certified for and they are not on a waiver. In addition, you will have to show that the teacher is a Team 3 or above on their evaluation. Equitable services for non-public schools updates and reminders. Remember that the non-public private schools page, it auto-populates from your non-public school survey. And this is a reminder of where each one pulls from, such as an example, the Title I Part A comes from non-public low-income students from the LEA Title I attendance areas. And for Title II, it would be the non-public total enrollment. Please remember that each ESEA program has its own program details page. Therefore, if it is not applicable for your LEA, you will have to go to each program details page for those that are not applicable and select that. And you have 2 different options for those non-public schools, you can either A, when you submit the CFA, upload the affirmation of meaningful non-public school consultation and final agreement, if you have that, or you can just do the affirmation of meaning non-public consultation as well. Do note, though, that if you do the second form, which is just a non-public school consultation, the final agreement has to be uploaded to the LEA document library by September the 15th. And this is a list of resources for non-publics. Resources and contacts. The two biggest additional resources that I feel are very pertinent for your FY23 CFA is your Federal Funds Guide, which is considered the WAT. It helps kind of let you see what you can and cannot use depending on the need for each title within the CFA. And then there is the Consolidated Funding Application Guide, which is the HOW. You can utilize this as a step-by-step process as you go through the CFA. So whether you utilize a hard copy or you have a second screen, you can have ePlan open at the same time as you're completing your CFA FY23, and this will allow you to go step by step, and it provides details on how to complete each section of the CFA. And do remember, all of the information for FY23 will be uploaded in TDOE resources for the CFA. And this is a list of the coordinators for ESSA and IDEA. For your fiscal consultant, this is a map and the areas that they assist with. Other dates to remember: the CFA did open March the 1st. March through June, we will still be conducting our weekly FPO office hours. In April, we will have CFA in-person work sessions. May the 1st, the CFA is due an E-Plan. And by July 1st, all CFAs must be approved by the department in order to continue the flow of federal funds for LEAs. Thank you for watching this presentation.